I never imagined I'd go from a grieving widow with a sick child to a life of unbelievable fortune. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. My heart was shattered into a million pieces, just like the glass on the floor when I dropped my coffee. The weight of loss pressed down on my chest, making it hard to breathe. My fingers trembled as I picked up the shards, each cut reminding me of the pain I couldn't shake that morning. The sun barely broke through the heavy gray clouds. My son, Jamie, lay in bed, shivering with fever. His small body was so frail, so weak. I brushed my fingers over his forehead, feeling the heat radiate. "Mommy will make it better," I whispered, hoping my voice didn't tremble. But inside, I was crumbling. I had lost my husband to illness last year. Now, it felt like I was losing everything all over again. If friends and family drifted away, unable to understand. I could almost hear their whispered judgments. How could I still be so broken? The silence was deafening. I felt so alone, trapped in a world that had moved on. While I stood still, drowning in sorrow. Just when I thought things couldn't get worse, a knock echoed through the emptiness of my house. Who could it be? My pulse quickened. I glanced at Jamie. He was still asleep, unaware of the turmoil surrounding us. With shaky hands, I opened the door, revealing a stranger in a dark trench coat. His eyes were piercing, full of secrets. "Mrs. Thompson," he asked, his voice smooth and chilling. "I have something that belongs to you." I stared at him, my heart racing. The world around me fell away. The man reached into his coat and pulled out a small, ornate box. It gleamed under the dull light. My breath hitched. "What is this?" I gasped. "Answers." His lips curled into a mysterious smile. "And the chance to change everything." My mind whirled. Change everything? I felt drawn to the box as if it were singing to me. My heart leapt with a mix of hope and fear. I had been waiting for a miracle, but could this really be it? Could this box hold the key to saving Jamie? Or was it another cruel twist of fate? Suddenly, the sky darkened outside, thunder rumbling like a warning. The man took a step closer. "This is your only chance," he whispered. "Take it or leave it." Before I could respond, the door slammed shut, and I was left staring at the empty hallway. My head was spinning. What did he mean? What was in that box? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash the like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The storm outside seemed to mirror the turmoil brewing inside me. I stood frozen, staring at the closed door, waiting for it to swing open again, for the man in the trench coat to return with answers that would untangle the knot in my chest. My heartbeat echoed in my ears as I glanced down at the floor, torn between the door and the promise of the box. I could only imagine. Jamie stirred in his sleep, the faint sound of his whimper breaking the silence. I rushed to his side, pressing a cool cloth to his forehead. His eyes fluttered open, and for a moment, the weight of the world lifted as I saw the spark of recognition in his gaze. "Mommy, shoo, sweetheart." "I'm here," I whispered, brushing the hair away from his forehead, enjoying the comfort of his presence, even just for a moment. But the feeling was fleeting. The thought of what the mysterious man had offered loomed heavily between us. Could this box truly change our lives, or would it bring more despair? As the clock ticked away the minutes, and the storm raged outside, I felt restless, filled with a sense of urgency. On one hand, was the fear of uncertainty, stemming from the pain of past losses. On the other, the flicker of a chance to escape this suffocating reality. I wiped the sweat from Jamie's brow and leaned down to kiss him softly. "I'll be right back, okay? Just rest. No response. He was already drifting back to sleep, clinging to the veil of blissful oblivion. I stepped away, my heart heavy, thoughts running wild. Should I seek out the man? The thought alone made me shudder, but what if this was indeed the answer to all our suffering? I paced the kitchen, the cold tiles grounding me back to reality. The box, I thought. Just the mere idea of it brought a glimmer of hope. More than that, I was desperate for change. With every passing second, I made up my mind to find out what that man had meant. I couldn't keep waiting for life to improve. I had to take the leap. I grabbed my jacket and hesitated at the door, wondering if I was truly prepared for what awaited me outside. Just then, my phone buzzed loudly, breaking the silence like a clap of thunder. I fumbled through my pocket, my heart sinking when I saw the name flashing on the screen: my sister, Sarah. We hadn't spoken in months, the chasm between us deepened by misunderstandings and an unbridgeable grief. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Hello, Emily? Are you there?" Her voice trembled, the light in her usually confident tone dimmed. "I saw your post on social media." "What post?" I asked, brows furrowing. I barely shared anything anymore, the one about Jamie. "Please, I want to help." I swallowed hard, fighting back tears. "Why now? After everything?" I couldn't help the bitterness creeping into my tone. "Because I'm sorry. I didn't understand before, but I do now. I want to be there for you. I've heard about a new treatment. It's experimental but could really help Jamie," she pleaded. The words washed over me like a wave, both enticing and suffocating. One half of me screamed to hang up, to push her away again. The other half, the mother clinging to her child's health, ached for hope. "What kind of treatment?" She hesitated, and it felt as though I could see her weighing her options on the other end. "I don't want to get your hopes up, but I have to let you know. There are whispers it could potentially reverse his condition. It's done in secret, and we'll have to act fast." Her words hung in the air like a promise I dared not touch. Meanwhile, my heart raced, torn in two. On one side, the urge to embrace this possibility, however uncertain; on the other, the enigmatic box that could hold the answer to everything I wanted. "I need time," I murmured, hanging up abruptly. My world felt like it was shifting beneath me, the walls seeming to pulse with every new revelation. The thoughts of Sarah's offer clashed violently with the temptation of the man's promise. With a swift motion, I threw open the door and stepped out into the tumultuous night. As the rain pummeled me, my thoughts became a whirlwind. Suddenly, a sharp gasp escaped my lips. When I saw the figure standing at the end of the path. It was him, the man in the trench coat. My chest tightened, and I instinctively took a step back, torn between fear and hope. "Did you decide?" he asked, his voice calm amidst the chaos of the storm. My insides twisted. I realized I was standing at a crossroads, with two paths laid before me, but which one would lead to salvation and which one would shatter what little hope I had left? There was no turning back. A dilemma brewed in my chest, one weaved tightly with the essence of motherhood, the desire to protect Jamie, and the unyielding darkness that threatened to consume me whole. Before I could respond, the man stepped forward, his eyes locking onto mine with an intensity that sent shivers racing down my spine. "Time is not on your side, Emily." His voice was low, a warning wrapped in fabric of urgency. "Choose wisely." With that, the storm raged on, blurring the line between desperation and hope, leaving me teetering on the brink of fear-inducing change. The trenchcoat billowed around him like a shroud, and despite the relentless rain, I felt the heat of his gaze seeping beneath my skin. "Time is not on your side, Emily," he had said. The words echoed in my mind, a relentless drum, urging me to answer, to take a step forward into the unknown. I glanced back towards the warmth of my home, toward Jamie, still sleeping in his cocoon of innocence and unawareness. The stark contrast between his fragility and the storm outside sharpened my resolve. I had always taken the safe route, hovered over life like a protective barrier, but where had that gotten us? Caught in this limbo of despair and stagnation, I drew in a breath filled with the scent of rain-soaked earth and resolved to walk toward him. "What do you want from me?" My voice trembled, laced with both anger and intrigue. The man tilted his head, as if my question had sparked a bit of amusement. "I don't want anything but to show you the way. The choice is yours." He gestured toward the shadows beyond him, where the trees was a dark mass, whispering secrets to one another under the storm's fury. Each gust of wind seemed to sway in rhythm with my heartbeat, heartbreakingly alive yet filled with uncertainty. "What do you mean?" I asked, stepping closer, drawn by a force I couldn't quite understand. He reached into his coat, producing a small, intricately carved box made of dark wood, glistening like polished obsidian under the flickering streetlight. This is your chance, Emily. It can change your life and your son's future. But it requires sacrifice. A sacrifice? My heart raced, it felt as though it would burst from my chest. I needed answers, not riddles. What kind of sacrifice? The kind that tests the very limits of your faith and trust in your own choices, he explained, his tone cool and deliberate. You will need to make a decision, a choice. Before I could process his words, a crack of lightning illuminated the sky, and in that split second, I saw the determination in his eyes, a shadow of something deeper swirling within. For a fleeting moment, I contemplated the unimaginable, the risk of giving away a piece of myself in exchange for Jamie's health, for our happiness. And then I remembered Sarah and her frantic voice, the way hope had flickered within me like a fragile flame, only to be doused by the fear of loss. It was unbearable, the emotional weight of holding on to hope while preparing for the agony of failure. It felt like a knife twisting in my gut. As I stood there, my heart caught in a tempest, the man's next words pulled my gaze back to him. The answer lies within. Do you want change, or will you continue holding on to the fragments of a life that no longer serves you? His words struck deep, and within the cacophony of thunder and rain, I felt a yearning I had long buried. I was exhausted from merely surviving, I wanted to thrive. The box seemed an extension of that desire, yet its existence also filled me with dread. Just then, a flash of lightning illuminated the path to my home. There was Jamie, standing at the door, his expression a mixture of sleepiness and confusion. Mommy? He called, his voice small and fragile against the storm's wrath. Where are you? Panic surged inside me. I glanced back at the man, my heart racing. If I choose this path, I risk losing him forever, don't I? There are always risks, Emily. But you must choose what you deem worthy, he replied, unwavering. Jamie's small frame, casting a shadow alongside the doorframe, sparked a primal urge to protect him at all costs. Mommy? He asked again, more insistent now, uncertainty painted on his young face. I turned and ran to him, kneeling down to frame his face with my trembling hands. It's okay, sweetheart. I'm here. I'm sorry if I scared you, I said, searching his eyes for reassurance even as my own heart raced with turmoil. His thumb brushed against my cheek, and for a moment, all noise faded away. Jamie's love felt pure, an anchor pulling me back from the edge. I love you, Mommy, I love you too, more than you could know, I whispered, tears mingling with the rain that streamed down my face. But even as I held him, the man's presence remained like a shadow on the edges of my vision. The box waited, pulsating with promise. Behind me, the storm screamed, urging me to make a decision before it swept everything away. As I stood up, torn between the tender embrace of my son and the seductive pull of change, the human heart waged a war between love and desire. I felt my resolve falter, the claustrophobic weight of choice pressing down on me. Mommy, what's wrong? Jamie's voice broke into my despair, and just then, the man stepped forward, his eyes twinkling with an almost hypnotic gleam. Choose wisely, Emily. I glanced down at Jamie, saw the innocence and vulnerability reflected in his large, trusting eyes, and felt a surge of clarity mixed with a veil of confusion. The storm raged on, but a new storm brewed within me, rising like a tidal wave, leaving me with only one question: was I willing to risk everything for the hope of something more, or would this choice shatter the fragile world I had built around my son? I stood there, caught in a whirlwind of emotions. Jamie's little hands gripped mine tightly, grounding me as the world around us seemed to fracture. The man's shadowy figure who promised a doorway to change hovered at the edge of my thoughts, a dark specter against the silvery backdrop of the rain. The intricately carved box still glimmered in his grasp, a siren call to a life I had only dared to dream of. Mommy, are you okay? You feel cold, Jamie said, his brow furrowing in concern, and I was momentarily startled back to reality. Yes, I'm fine, I lied, squeezing his hands tighter, as if I could keep the truth of my turmoil from spreading like a dark stain on our lives. What I felt wasn't merely coldness, it was a shuddering chill of fear mixed with longing, stretching deep within me. But the truth was, how could I ever explain to him the weight of a choice like this? I'm just a little tired. I just need a moment. Nerves danced in my stomach as I turned my gaze back to the man, who quietly observed the exchange as if it were a mere reflection of my own internal battle. What kind of sacrifice are we talking about? I demanded. There are many paths in life, Emily. Each path requires a sacrifice, whether it be time, comfort, or something more profound. However, the choice must reflect the depth of your commitment to the potential outcome, he replied, his voice smooth yet distant, like a reflection in a still lake hiding dangers beneath a pristine surface. As he spoke, a low rumble echoed overhead, reminding me of the urgency. I felt time slipping away on a current I couldn't grasp. I had to make a choice, but which direction would lead to the greatest good for Jamie? I questioned the man's cryptic words, every decision before me carrying a weight that felt too heavy for my heart to bear. What if I chose wrong? In this oppressive storm of despair, I caught a glimpse of hope. Sarah, my best friend. The relentless truth of her recent struggles echoed in my mind. Her daughter, so full of life, had faced an uphill battle, much like Jamie was doing now. Sarah's strength had pulled me through some of my darkest days, illuminating the way even in the face of losing everything. Her tenderness and fierce love for her daughter had always inspired me, yet I now felt guilt weaving around my memories of her. I could almost hear Sarah's voice, laced with courage and wisdom. Emily, sometimes we have to let go of the fear of the unknown to grab onto something much larger than ourselves, Mommy? Jamie interrupted, snapping me from my reverie. His voice trembled, tiny compared to the roar of the storm. Can we go inside now? I don't like the thundering. Of course, sweetheart. Let's find a cozy spot. And as I reached to scoop him into my arms, the weight of my indecision crashed over me like a tide. In that moment, Jamie was my anchor. But the man remained a constant pull, whispering promises filled with possibility. Time waits for no one, Emily, he reminded me gently, yet with a lingering edge that was hard to ignore. Why do I have to choose now? I asked, my voice wavering as I glanced at him, caught between two worlds. Because choices define us, and the world is not as it appears. You will gain wisdom through this sacrifice, but you must truly desire change to benefit from the wisdom it offers. The storm swelled around us, the rain streaking down the pavement like tears spilled under the weight of difficult choices. In the thick of my confusion, I waged an internal war with each heartbeat. If I leaned into this unknown darkness, would I lose myself in pursuit of saving my son? Each moment stretched, and I could feel the pulls of my past and future colliding. Jamie nestled against me, seeking solace. How could I sacrifice our fragile foundation for a chance at some nebulous promise? Yet how could I persist with a life riddled with despair, teetering on the brink of collapse? Out of sheer instinct, my fingers grazed the box in the man's hand. It pulsed with life, as if it were a living entity waiting to be opened. The thought alone sent shivers racing down my spine, and in that moment, I hesitated. Would I be a fool to seek out salvation from darkness? Or would it be an act of bravery to face it head-on? To risk everything I had built to claw my way into something unimaginable? Suddenly, Jamie's small eyes widened, staring over my shoulder. Mommy, who is that? He whispered, his voice quaking. Fear knotted in my stomach as I turned to follow his gaze, where an unfamiliar figure emerged from the shadows of the storm, their outline almost ethereal. Dressed in white, the newcomers stood amidst the chaos, and my heart raced. Was this another challenge? Or perhaps someone sent to show me hope amidst my decision? Emily, the voice rang clear despite the thunder, echoing like a soft bell. You have a choice to make. But remember, some sacrifices are not just about you, they echo through the lives of those you love. As the figure stepped further into the light, my breath caught. I felt frozen, fully aware that the choice pressing down on me now came with an intensity that could alter everything. There was no turning back now. With Jamie clinging to me and hope glimmering like a fleeting star, I wondered if I was still strong enough to navigate this storm. The air crackled with tension, each droplet of rain seeming to whisper secrets into the night. As I stood there, Jamie's small fingers pressed into my skin, a lifeline tethering me to the familiar. The figure in white, who now stood before us, radiated an otherworldly grace that seemed to quiet the raging storm within me, but it also ignited a tempest of questions. Who are you? I finally managed, my voice trembling between resolve and vulnerability. The figure stepped closer, their features still obscured by shadow, yet a softness lingered in their eyes that drew me in. I am a guide, Emily. You are not alone in this. Their gaze flickered to Jamie, and a tender smile crossed their lips. Your love for him is palpable. It will be your compass through this journey. A shudder ran through me, and I tightened my grip around Jamie. How could anyone possibly understand what I was wrestling with? A guide? So you know what's at stake? I challenged, the desperation spilling into my words. Do you know what I risk if I choose wrong? I understand the weight of your choices, as every choice carries a price, they replied, their voice steady and soothing amidst the storm. But consider this, every sacrifice made in love has the potential to change lives, not just your own. You must listen to your heart, even when it screams in fear. Jamie's head tilted back, his big blue eyes searching mine. Mommy? Can we trust them? My heart ached at his innocence, so convinced that the mystery would bring hope and healing. Before I could respond, the man still lurking at the edge of the storm spoke again, his voice slicing through the moment like a blade. What if that hope is just a mirage? What if you gamble away everything only to find you've traded one suffering for another? His eyes glittered with malevolence, igniting my fears anew. Stop! I exclaimed, my voice growing fiercer. We don't need your poison. We have hope, and that hope comes from love. The man's lips curled into a smirk, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurked just beyond the reach of light. Love can blind, Emily. You think you want to protect your child, but what if you fail him? That is the true darkness. A gust of wind howled around us, and I felt the very ground tremble. Panic surged, the stakes were too painfully palpable. What if I was risking Jamie's future with every second I indecisively stood there? Sensing my turmoil, the figure in white stepped between us and the man, a shield of light against encroaching shadows. Your journey is yours to navigate. And remember, the path to hope often runs through despair. Finding the courage to choose can lead to wonderful, unexpected places. With those words, a warmth radiated from them, filling the void created by doubt. I closed my eyes for a brief moment, embracing the light that pushed back against the shadow's grasp. I want to believe, I whispered, clinging to this flicker of reassurance, and yet, beneath the surface, I was still grappling with my fears, and now I faced another reality. A part of me felt drawn to the man's ominous words. What if love, this ethereal force, wasn't enough to shield Jamie from the worst that life could deal? My heart pounded like a war drum, louder and louder, as I contorted my thoughts around the possibilities. I've never wanted to gamble with Jamie's life, and now I feel like choosing between death and darkness, or risking everything for a chance at life and light, I murmured, more to myself than anyone. Then let me show you, the figure in white whispered, stepping forward. In a gesture that felt both instinctual and orchestrated, they reached out and lightly brushed their fingers against my wrist, sending a jolt through my body. An image flickered in my mind: tender moments with Jamie, but twisted with shadows of anguish threatening to suffocate us both. Visions of laughter turned to screams, and the hollow presence of despair gnawed at the edges of that joy. Yet amidst the turmoil, I saw flickers of warmth, moments where Jamie's laughter bubbled forth like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. But in the shadows, I now saw a path diverging, one leading deeper into darkness. Everything is intertwined, said the figure softly. Your past, your love, your fears, they are threads in a tapestry you must weave. We are often afraid to see what lies beyond our choices, but you can shape fate. The light is always present, it's up to you to reach for it. With that, every heartbeat bled uncertainty into the fabric of my resolve. Could I command fate? Could I dare to unravel the strands of our lives and weave a new story? As I stood on the precipice of this decision, a distant rumble rolled in the sky, this time, not just thunder but a low, reverberating sound erupting from deep within. It resonated with urgency, as if fate itself were inching closer, demanding attention. Suddenly, Jamie clutched at his chest, his new vulnerability manifesting in fear. Mommy, it hurts. He gasped, his voice sharp with panic. Jamie. My heart seized, an icy knife slicing through my resolve. I fell to my knees beside him as his small frame trembled, the realization crashing into me like a tidal wave. This wasn't just a choice anymore, this was life and death, resumes of a mother's desperate love. In that moment, the white figure locked eyes with me, their expression piercing through the veil of chaos. This is your choice, Emily. Will you step into the light, embrace the unknown, and end the cycle of despair? Or will you let darkness claim you both? The air felt electric as Jamie's cries became tangled with the storm outside, an urgent plea pulling me toward action. As the world faded away, one thought crystallized: I would fight for him. No matter the cost. My body responded instinctively, rising to face both the man and the figure in white. I choose my son. I choose hope. The declaration burst forth, strong enough to shake the rain-soaked pavement, but the storm didn't relent. Its intensity only seemed to amplify. And before anything could shift in the chaos, a violent flash of lightning lit up the sky, revealing a figure in the distance, racing toward us with urgency. As they came into view, my heart stopped. I recognized them, Sarah, Emily. She yelled, her voice cutting through the chaos. Emily, I have news. It's about Jamie. Time froze. What could it mean? As the dark clouds swirled above, and my heart pounded out a frantic rhythm of fear and hope, everything hung precariously in the balance. Yet something deep inside urged me to stay. This was our moment. What she was about to reveal could send our lives spiraling in directions I couldn't even begin to fathom. The rain continued to fall with a relentless fury, each droplet pounding against the ground beneath me like a countdown clock ticking toward some cataclysmic event. I looked up at Sarah as she rushed toward us, her hair plastered against her face, her eyes wide with urgency. Waves of confusion flooded my mind, battling with a sudden spark of hope at the sight of her, Emily. She cried again, breathless, as she reached us. We don't have much time. Time for what? I asked, my heart racing, Jamie's hand still gripped tightly in mine. In that moment, everything else, the figure in white, the ominous man lingering at the edge of light and darkness, faded into the background. I found a way to help. She panted, her words tumbling out in a hurried rush. Remember that old friend of mine who worked in research? They found something that could help Jamie. Something groundbreaking. Hope surged through me, igniting a fire in my chest. What do you mean? What can help him? My voice trembled with the weight of unspoken emotions. For so long, my days had been painted with the shadow of despair, but now, possibility flickered at the edge of my thoughts, illuminating the darkness just enough to cast new shapes. It's a trial medication, but it's been showing significant promise for cases like Jamie's. They're looking for final candidates, and Sarah broke off, her expression earnest. I just heard about it yesterday. I didn't think twice. I had a pang of guilt nestled deep within me, laced with concern. But what if this is just another dead end? Jamie has already endured so much. What if it doesn't work? Emily, I get it, she said, her voice softer now, a gentle anchor amidst the chaos. But this could be the breakthrough we've been praying for. You know we have to try. She reached out, cupping my cold hands in her warm ones. And if it means facing the darkness, isn't that worth it? Haven't you been fighting for him? Don't stop now. A whirlwind of emotions swirled within me, fragments of fear, hope, and protectiveness crashing against one another. As I glanced down at Jamie, still trembling at my side, I knew he was fighting just as hard, battling the pain clawing at him from within. I had to choose, and while fear knotted my resolve, the flame of possibility beckoned me forward. But before I could respond, the air shifted once again, and the figure in white stepped closer to us, their presence a steady beacon against the storm. This is a crucial moment, Emily, they spoke softly, the calm in their voice infinite and reassuring. Every decision has the power to change the course of your journey. There are no guarantees, but courage lies in choosing hope. You must ask yourself what you truly desire. Jamie's eyes skated between us, his small face illuminated with a semblance of clarity despite the shadows around us. Mommy, can we try it? His voice quivered, frail but determined. His trust was a lifeline I couldn't ignore. Yes. I breathed, my heart rising in my chest, my decision solidifying. In this storm of uncertainty, I felt a sense of purpose blooming within me. Yes, well, try, I affirmed, my voice stronger now. Though doubt still wrestled with my spirit, alongside it grew the unyielding connection to my child. Whatever sacrifice lay ahead, I knew I wouldn't flinch. My life had been shaped by the silken threads of love and fear interwoven. Jamie needed me, and together, perhaps we could face whatever darkness lurked. But just as I solidified the decision, the storm overhead grew louder and an icy chill washed over me. The man lurking in the shadows laughed, a hollow sound rising above the chaos. Do you really think you can escape your fate, Emily? Choice? Freedom? They're illusions. My skin prickled, and for a heartbeat, I faltered. What do you know of my choices? I shot back, defiance coloring my voice. Love is stronger than your shadows. With a glimmer of anger lighting his eyes, he stepped forward, darkness dancing around him like fog. You're naive if you believe hope alone can save you. And this trial? It may well be your undoing. In that moment, dread overwhelmed me. I glanced at Sarah, who appeared unfazed, only intensifying my worry. Had she truly found salvation, or was this yet another trick laden with false promises? Emily! Sarah suddenly shouted over the din, pulling my attention away. We need to decide now. I can get you both to the hospital. What if that's not enough? What if? Before I could finish the thought, the figure in white whispered something under their breath, and a light enveloped us, momentarily pushing the shadows of the man back, although not entirely. Have faith, Emily. Trust your instincts. Trust that love can guide you through. The mercy in their words lent me strength, and with a final glance at Jamie's hopeful little face, I exhaled a shaky breath. Okay. We go. We will fight for you, Jamie. We will find the light. As we turned, the figure held my gaze a moment longer, an unspoken promise unfolding in the silent exchange. And as the clouds roared above us, the air filled with an electrifying tension I couldn't explain, but then, amid the cacophony, came a sudden, blaring sound as a vehicle was heard approaching in the distance, its headlights cutting through the swirling darkness. My heart skipped. What if it was a chance to escape the storm, and yet, as I took Jamie's hand and made my way toward the shimmering flicker of hope, the ground beneath us trembled once more with urgency. Sarah shot another look back at me, her brows knitted in concern, before we rushed toward the approaching light. Then, in the blink of an eye, lightning struck again, illuminating the sky, and as we stepped from the safety of the portal, I heard Hema's familiar voice that sent icy fingers down my spine. Emily! Out of the shadows emerged a figure I thought I'd never see again, their eyes locking onto mine with a mixture of emotions. David? The name slipped from my lips, a whisper of disbelief rising from the depths of my core. The rain fell like a curtain, casting everything in shades of gray, but the sight of David, standing there soaked to the bone, felt shockingly vivid amidst the chaos. My heart raced, torn between joy and disbelief. Time slipped through my fingers as we perceived each other, the world fading into a dim hum. Emily, he breathed, his voice an anchor, pulling me back to reality. You're alive. I thought I lost you both. The warmth in his tone juxtaposed with the chill of the downpour, sending shivers through me. What are you doing here? More voices surged around us, the figures swirling in and out of my vision, the urgency of our situation clawing at my mind. I heard about Jamie, and I couldn't. David halted, and for the first time, I noticed the tension etched across his features, a mixture of relief and apprehension battling for dominance. David, you shouldn't be here, I stuttered, a new wave of confusion washing over me. It's dangerous. Everything is. My thoughts scattered like leaves caught in the whirlwind, pulled toward the deepening uncertainty of our fate. Let's talk somewhere safe, he urged, his gaze darting to the shadows. The figure with the laughter echoed in my mind, a constant reminder of the stakes. Please, just follow me. As he stepped forward, instinctively, I tightened my grip on Jamie's hand, looking at Sarah, who had remained resolutely by my side. She exchanged a glance with David, one that spoke of shared history, a tangle of emotions that made my heart clench with an unexpected pang of jealousy and protectiveness. Are we safe? I asked, my voice trembling, simple desperation flowing through my words. David nodded with a certainty that felt both reassuring and discordant against the backdrop of looming dread. For now, yes. I just need to get you two away from here. With a fleeting look back at the figure in white, who seemed to fade further into the storm, I allowed David to lead us away from the frenetic chaos. Each step felt like an unsteady journey into the unknown, yet one determined by fierce love and desperation. Where are we going? Jamie asked, his innocent voice cutting through the tension. To a friend's place, David replied, adjusting the hood of his jacket over Jamie's small frame protectively. They can help us, and from there, we can figure things out. Help with what? My heart was heavy with questions I knew would only add to the storm brewing inside me. David, time is running out for Jamie. Emily. His voice was firm, interrupting the somber weight of reality. I promise, I wouldn't have come back if I didn't think I could help you. I've learned things, been working on something. The urgency in his tone sparked curiosity. Things? What kind of things? He hesitated, a brief flicker of uncertainty crossing his features before he spoke. It's complicated. But I believe we can find a way to get him into that trial you mentioned. I can. The air thickened with a heady swirl of emotions, anger bubbling alongside my helpless uncertainty. You can what? Play hero after abandoning us? The words slipped out sharper than I intended, fueled by lingering hurt. How could he stand here now, with promises rooted in the past when we had been left shattered? I didn't choose to leave. David shot back, his eyes brightening with agitation. I didn't expect to come back. It was never my intention to hurt you or Jamie. But circumstances changed, and two need you to leave. I hissed, the rawness of my voice underscored by Jamie's small hand tightening around mine, signaling his discomfort. You just came back into our lives like it's all the same. It's not. We've been alone, Emily, please. The plea in his voice softened me momentarily, latching onto my pent-up frustration. I really think there's a way forward if we work together. I drummed up contacts, found resources. Working with a foundation it's complicated, but we caught a flicker of hope lit in my chest. But just as quickly as it surfaced, darkness threatened to overshadow it. And what if it doesn't work? Risking Jamie's health again? What if you're just another false promise? Tension hung thick in the air, our surroundings pulsing with urgency, the storm above still raging in discontent. I'd never lead you astray, he whispered, earnestness flooding his gaze. Just let me try. Jamie shifted nervously beside me, the weight of our conflict evident in his eyes. Mommy, I just want to get better. I don't want to be scared anymore, he said, his vulnerability unraveling my resolve. My heart cracked a little, the protection I'd built around it for so long threatening to crumble. I looked at David, torn between our past and the uncertainty of a future still unfolding like the storm clouds. If we do this, you must promise, no more secrets, no more leaving us in the dark. That I swear, David said. His promise hung heavy between us, bridging the chasm of our shared history. Just then, without warning, the skies forked with lightning, illuminating a path before us. Amidst the clash of thunder, a distant cry fractured the air, sending shadows flittering back into the depths. It was not just the storm prowling around us, it felt like darkness had become an entity altogether biding its time, waiting for the moment to seize us again. Our next steps echoed with the weight of a journey into the unknown, threats swirling invisibly just beneath the surface. As David guided us away, from the corner of my eye, I caught sight of the ominous figure from before, lingering just out of reach. Emily. They called out, focus sharpening on me. Your choices are the key to salvation and destruction alike. My heart pounded against my ribcage, the tension between hope and dread palpable. What did they mean? What lay ahead on this treacherous path we were stepping into? As I risked another glance, the figure melted back into shadows, their laughter a haunting echo in my ears. Every decision twisted the air, charged with a truth I couldn't yet grasp. With each step, I held tighter to Jamie and cast a wary glance towards David, asserting that this would not just be a journey toward healing for Jamie. It was a fight that would unearth not just shadows but revelations that would change everything. And as we navigated the looming storm, I sensed something primal. We were not alone in this battle. The depths of this journey promised more than just the resurfacing of old wounds. They would divulge the weight of startling truths I had yet to uncover, secrets hidden beneath layers of heartache and hope. A chilling breeze caressed the nape of my neck as I steadied myself against the deluge. The questions loomed large, a palpable dread spurring me forward into the unknown, where danger and salvation coiled like serpents waiting to strike. Let's go, I said with newfound determination, and as we stepped deeper into the tempest ahead, comets of uncertainty blazed in the distance, foreshadowing the crossroads I never anticipated. In that volatile moment, I knew we could find answers or be engulfed in the fury of fate. We would press on, together. The rain persisted in its relentless assault as we moved further from the chaos. Shadows danced along the streets, taunting me with chilling glimpses of things I could barely understand. David walked beside us, a blend of hope and trepidation coiling between us. With every step, my heart bore the weight of questions wrapped in anger, fear, and the threads of a life that had been irrevocably changed. Why are you really back, David? I asked, my voice cutting through the noise of the downpour. Can we trust you? His expression faltered for a heartbeat before resolve took over. I had to come back. I didn't fully understand what was at stake until I saw the news. Jamie needs help, and I can't just stand by any longer. Help from who? From what? You've been gone for months. What makes you think you can just waltz back into our lives and fix everything? The sharpness of my words echoed louder than intended, sending a tremor through Jamie, who once again clutched my hand. I took a deep breath, reminding myself that this wasn't about us anymore. We were all just trying to survive the storm in our own ways. David exhaled slowly. I connected with someone who specializes in treatments like Jamie's. It was getting to a point where I thought everything was hopeless until I got a call. I didn't want to believe it could help, but now I feel like I have a chance to make a difference. A glimmer of hope flickered to life, but it struggled against the tempest brewing in my heart. And how do I know you're not just saying this to ease your own guilt? You left, David. The pain evoked by his return threatened to spill over, reminding me of all that was lost. Yet, Jamie's hopeful gaze for assurance cut through my bitterness. What can I do to show you I'm serious? He asked, his words an earnest plea, a small spark within the cold reality. Let me prove it to you, to Jamie. I just need time to explain everything. What does this person offer? I pressed, searching his eyes for answers. Is it real? Is it safe? David paused, the starlight glinting through the storm-clouded sky for just an instant, illuminating the determination in his eyes. They are arranging for Jamie to be considered for a new trial that could change everything. A long shot, but one worth taking. A new wave of frail hope washed over me, but the walls I'd built up against disappointment were high. And what if it fails? My resolve didn't completely waver, but I sensed the crack in my armor. What if we are left empty-handed again? Then we keep looking, he asserted, adding weight to his belief. We owe that to Jamie. He needs this. I wouldn't push if I didn't think something good could come out of it. His passion was palpable, but doubts remained heavy in the air, clinging to me like the rain. Jamie whispered, Mommy, I want to be okay, please. I'm scared, but David is here now. Can we trust him? Meeting my son's earnest eyes, the innocence in his plea wrapped around my heart, forcing me to confront the abyss of my own fears. Somehow, amidst the shifting ground below us, Jamie always managed to stand in a space of unyielding hope. They'll think about it, sweetie, I finally responded, my voice trembling, feeling like I was teetering on the edge of a precipice. As we approached a nondescript building that loomed before us, I caught a glimpse of something moving against the shadows, a glimmer of white. The presence stirred an unsettling memory deep within me. Is anyone else here with us? I asked, glancing around anxiously. No, it's just me and you, David reassured, though his eyes betrayed a flicker of doubt as he scanned our surroundings. Just then, as we stepped closer to the entrance, a woman burst out of the doors, her silhouette sharp amid the swirling rain. Emily! She called out, hurriedly. She was clutching a stained envelope, her expression frantic. You need to see this. We haltingly stepped forward, both David and I caught off guard by the urgency in her voice. What is it? I asked, glancing at Jamie, who seemed too small against the looming figures of our past. The woman thrust the envelope towards me, words spilling forth between hurried breaths. You're not going to believe what's inside. The event you were hoping for is redirected. They've identified potential donors, but there's a catch. A catch? I repeated, feeling my stomach twist. They want to meet us, but the woman hesitated, locking eyes with me. They need a sacrifice. I frowned, uncertain of her meaning. What do you mean? Someone close a blood relation. They believe they can amplify Jamie's chances if they have a direct connection to what they're testing. The world seemed to tilt, every sound around us faded into the background. In that moment, it became terrifyingly clear what was being asked of me. My body was paralyzed with the weight of a decision I didn't want to face. A potential price for hope lurking beneath the surface. Mommy, please. Jamie cried out, confusion coloring his brave little face. I blinked, fighting to process the layers of implications spiraling around us like the storm that continued to howl outside. In my heart, clashing waves of hope and dread warred against one another. If there was a way to save Jamie, would I dare consider what was being asked of me? David reached out, his hand brushing against my arm. Emily, we need to talk about this. But the tension crackled in the air like a whip, a desperate realization hitting each of us. We had stepped into a realm where choices bore consequences heavier than any of us could bear. The possibility of salvation trembled in the stormy air, but so did the prospect of unimaginable loss, and as the rain poured down, relentless against our resolve, I felt two truths collide within me: hope and dread, intertwined, blurring the path before us. In choosing to seek this uncertain future, we were setting our course into the unknown. Just when I thought I was prepared for any outcome, the figure I had glimpsed earlier loomed behind us, their laughter ringing through the turbulent weather, echoing a darker foreboding. Your choices have just begun, Emily, they whispered, slipping back into the shadows like smoke, leaving me shaken and engulfed in questions I couldn't begin to answer. The weight of decision hung heavy in my chest. Life had never felt more precarious, not even in the darkest depths of my sorrow. Standing on the brink of unimaginable choices, I braced for whatever storm awaited us next, a tempest where hearts and lives were intertwined. The rain continued to patter against the pavement, each droplet a reminder of the turmoil swirling in my mind. The woman had vanished into the shadows as quickly as she had appeared, leaving behind only the echo of her words and the weight of the envelope in my hand. My pulse quickened, each beat sinking to the dread crystallizing in my chest. A sacrifice? The idea left a bitter taste on my tongue, gnawing at my gut. I turned to David, whose face mirrored my own turmoil. What did she mean? I demanded, the panic creeping into my voice. What are they expecting from us? David opened his mouth, then shut it again, his brows furrowing as he searched for appropriate words. Emily, this is unreal. It sounds more like a bargaining chip than a treatment plan. His voice trembled, mirroring the disquiet in my heart. But we need to understand what they're asking for. What are the consequences if we refuse? Jamie, oblivious to the gravity of the situation but sensing the tension, pulled at my hand. Mommy, please don't worry. I just want to be okay. We can do it, right? His innocent trust wrapped around my heart like a vice, squeezing tighter with each breath. I looked down at him, the purity in his eyes reflecting an unwavering belief in possibilities. Yet the anguish in my soul was a tempest of conflicts. If a blood connection was necessary, how could I choose? I'd always thought love meant protection, yet here I was, teetering on the edge of making a sacrifice that could haunt me forever. Well, figure it out, I said, my voice breaking but resolute. If there was a chance, no matter how faint, that this could lead to healing, I couldn't dismiss it outright. Jamie deserved every glimmer of hope I could grasp. But we have to think this through. I turned my gaze toward the building again, the door behind us looming ominously. What if we go back inside and learn more? There must be details, more context. David nodded, understanding igniting in his eyes. Let's not make any rash decisions here. Information is our ally. As we stepped back towards the entrance, uncertainty hung thick in the damp air. It felt as if the world had morphed into a strange labyrinth, with each turn leading to more veiled truths and shadowy signs. My stomach twisted as I recalled the woman's words and the unsettling laughter from the figure who had slipped away, merging into the rain-soaked darkness. Inside, the sterile scent of antiseptic stung my nostrils, a jarring contrast to the storm outside. A receptionist perched at her desk glanced up, weariness painted across her features as if the weight of countless stories had etched lines on her face. Can I help you? She asked, weary yet polite. We're looking for more information about the trial, I replied, my voice steady despite the storm of emotions raging within me. We need to know what I have to offer, how involved I will really need to be. She hesitated a moment, then nodded, motioning for us to take a seat. The director will be with you shortly. He can explain the process in more detail. As we sat, anticipation thickened the air around us like fog rolling in off the ocean. Jamie curled up next to me, resting his head against my shoulder, oblivious to the tension that twisted around us. David shifted in his chair, the silence stretching into something tangible, filled with unspoken fears and lingering doubts. Minutes felt like hours, and just as the weight of indecision threatened to pull me under, a man walked in. He was tall, his presence commanding yet oddly reassuring. Dressed in a lab coat, he introduced himself as Dr. Avery, and his kind smile shattered some of the tension that clung to the room. Thank you for coming in, he said, his voice calm and decisive. I understand you have questions about the trial. Yes, we were told there's a potential donor connection, I forced out, swallowing hard. What does that entail? Dr. Avery nodded, his gaze shifting to Jamie, whose innocence and curiosity shimmered in the bright room. It's indeed true. We believe that a direct biological connection could enhance the effectiveness of the trial for patients with Jamie's condition, but what kind of sacrifice are we talking about? I pressed, desperate for clarity. There are layers to this process. It's essential, but it doesn't mean what you might think. Your involvement would be more symbolic, a means of heightening the regenerative process through emotional and physiological ties. He paused, gauging our reactions. It does not need to be harmful, nor does it need to mean risking your safety. Our primary goal is to help Jamie, and I emphasize here, allowing ourselves to believe is powerful. It was an odd sense of hope I had not expected, yet I found myself grasping for it. And what happens if we don't proceed? Then the potential for change would remain static, Dr. Avery replied, his voice steady. But I can't promise any outcome without the direct donor connection. The trial is exploratory, something I must be clear about. I glanced at Jamie, who had now drifted off, the weight of the world resting peacefully on his small frame. In his sleep, he looked untroubled, a stark contrast to the storm tearing at the edges of my heart. I turned back to Dr. Avery. Then we have to try. A rush of warmth filled the room, flooding through my veins as I thought of placing Jamie's future before my own fears. But before I could articulate my resolve, a soft beeping sound interrupted, and Dr. Avery's phone lit up on his desk. He glanced at it, his expression changing subtly, revealing something unspoken in his eyes. "I'm sorry, I need to take this," he said, stepping aside. As he moved, David leaned closer to me, his voice urgent. "Emily, are you sure? This feels like a massive step. What if this backfires?" I shook my head, biting my lip. Perhaps not taking a leap is the only real failure. Jamie deserves to fight. But uncertainty shrouded our connection, and just then, Dr. Avery re-entered the room. His face was grave, lines etched deeper into his forehead. "I need to inform you that while we're prepared to move forward, something has changed. There are legal implications arising from your case. It's crucial we discuss them immediately." An icy knot formed in my stomach as the implications of his words began to settle in. Legal implications? What did that mean for Jamie, for our choices? Before I could respond, the ominous laughter I had heard earlier echoed in my mind, leaving me chilled. It seemed to mock this newfound hope, a reminder of the darkness weaving through every decision I faced. As I braced myself for whatever revelation awaited, I understood that the labyrinth had become even more intricate, and with every turn, danger lurked in the shadows, threatening everything I longed to protect. And then, in a chilling whisper from the depths of the unknown, I heard a name echo through the hall, one I least expected: me husband's name. The storm raged outside as I sat in the sterile room, the walls closing in on me with their bright whiteness mocking the chaos pounding beyond the glass. David's presence felt both comforting and suffocating, and Jamie, oblivious to the gravity of our discussions, slept with all the innocence in the world, the weight of his trust resting heavily on my shoulders. My heart raced as Dr. Avery leaned in, the tension palpable between us. "The legal implications involve your husband's estate. It appears he had left instructions regarding medical decisions, and since you're the last living blood relative, his directives carry weight concerning Jamie as well." My breath hitched at the mention of David, my David, the man I had lost to illness, who I thought would forever remain a memory wrapped in sorrow. "What do you mean?" I croaked, staring at Dr. Avery, desperation clawing at my throat. "What have his instructions got to do with Jamie's treatment?" Dr. Avery looked contemplative, choosing each word carefully. "He stipulated that you should consider participating as the primary donor for all experimental procedures if ever needed. This ongoing trial could become part of a larger framework he envisioned. I believe there's a letter outlining his thoughts in the estate documents." Each word felt like a shackle wrapping tighter around my heart. Part of me wanted to recoil, to retreat from this emotional labyrinth filled with ghosts of my past. How could he expect me to embrace this all over again? "But he's gone," my voice trembled. "I can't. How could he do this?" Dr. Avery's gaze softened. He believed in the power of love, of connection. Jamie's condition could require a sacrificial answer, but not in a way that harms you. Think of this as a chance to truly save him. Sacrifice. My mind raced at the notion. Was I prepared to revisit the pain that had splintered my heart? Jamie stirred beside me, his small hands clutching my own, and that primal instinct within me flared. Everything I had fought for was distilled into this singular moment. "And if I refuse?" I whispered, fear clawing at my insides. "Then we lose a rare opportunity." "Healing often requires us to dive into the depths of our own shadows," he replied gently. As I scanned the room, words mingled with tempestuous thoughts. I had spent countless nights wishing for the impossible outcome, a chance to see Jamie healthy, vibrant, free from the chains of illness. But could this truly be the key? Could I wrestle with the echoes of love and sacrifice all over again? "Mommy," Jamie's voice broke through my fog, drawing my focus. "I'm not scared, I'm just tired." The slight tremor in his voice pulled at every fiber of my being. In that moment, I felt the weight of the universe pressing down on me. My world had been defined by love and loss, balancing each heartbeat with hesitation and despair, but now the prism of a new possibility unfolded before us. The remnants of my husband's trust could turn into our lifeline. I ran my fingers gently through Jamie's hair and felt a potent rush of resolve surge within me. It was time to stop flirting with the edges of despair. It was time to leap. Yes, I whispered as if committing to an unshakable truth. I want to try. For Jamie. The air shifted, a silence thick with understanding settling among us. David's hand around mine tightened. You're sure? He asked, his voice steady with amazement. I have to be. I've spent too long surviving instead of living, I replied, glancing at Dr. Avery, who nodded appreciatively, his expression one of respect and acknowledgement of my choice. Then I will prepare the necessary documentation for the estate claims. We can proceed immediately, he said, his voice firm with purpose. Just as hope flickered through me, a shadow slipped back into my thoughts, a reminder of the ominous figure who had taunted my determination. As Dr. Avery left to tend to the paperwork, David leaned closer, a mix of reassurance and admiration in his gaze. Emily, you're incredible. I never realized how strong you've become. I felt a pang of warmth mixed with a tinge of nostalgia. I'm just trying to be the best mother I can be. Nothing more. Still, you've navigated through storms that would have broken anyone else, he said, and beneath the layers of history, I could see a flicker of renewed connection in his eyes. But before I could respond, a sharp knock cut through the silence, and the receptionist entered with an envelope in hand, eyes wide with urgency. Emily, this just arrived for you. It's important. I accepted the envelope, my heart racing as I tore it open. Inside was the letter Dr. Avery mentioned, along with a stack of papers bearing David's name. As I scanned the words, my breath caught the contents leaped out at me, revealing unrefuted truths of love and choices tethered together by a fragile bond. This time, I would refuse to let grief hold me hostage. We would pursue the light, regardless of what lay ahead. My heart felt full, an unexpected shift signaling the dance between hope and darkness. Just as the doubts began to fall away, a sudden surge of electricity crackled in the air, and I glanced up to see the shadowy figure from before lingering just outside the doorway. His dark mocking grin betrayed a very real threat, a reminder that choosing hope would not come without its tests, but in that moment, with Jamie nestled at my side and David beside me, the fear morphed into determination. I held my head high, understanding that this pivotal choice could lead to healing, redemption, and a powerful reunion, but it would also defiantly defy the enmity of circumstance. I wasn't just choosing for Jamie, I was reclaiming my life and the life we could build instead of allowing the shadows of our past to cloud the beauty of what could be. Emily, the figure outside spoke, their voice chilling me to the core. Hope is a fleeting illusion. You will see. I felt rage bloom within me, a newfound resolve blossoming. Hope is a choice I will make every day, I declared, my voice unwavering despite the tumult around me. I will fight for Jamie. I will fight for life. I will not allow darkness to win. And as the shadows hesitated, flickering like embers caught in a storm, I knew this moment would become our cornerstone, a decision etched into the essence of resistance against despair. United in our resolve, we pressed forward into the light, ready to embrace the unknown ahead, weaving together a tapestry of hope that shone brighter than the shadows lurking behind. As I turned away from the echoing laughter of the figure, I rejoined Jamie and David, and through the uncertainty and fear, in the heart of the storm, I felt, for the first time in what felt like an eternity, the persistent pulse of hope driving us forward. This was just the beginning, a journey to heal, to remember, and to be reborn. And as we stepped across the threshold, my last thoughts echoed, resonating with a clarity that felt both powerful and serene. In the dance of life, I choose to fight for love, for hope, for the future.